What if the moment before everything changed, there was a tense encounter we weren't supposed to see? What if Roman Reigns, the Bloodline, and Seth Rollins crossed paths minutes before the arrest that would shake the entire landscape of WWE? This is the story that changes everything, and we're diving in right now on WWE Express. Welcome back to WWE Express, where we explore the deepest layers of WWE storytelling, character motivation, and the moments that define wrestling's greatest narratives. Today, we're investigating a shocking scenario that, if true, would rewrite the entire Seth Rollins redemption arc and expose fractures in the power dynamics we thought we understood. Let's establish the timeline. Seth Rollins has been on an unprecedented journey of reinvention over these past months. From his desperate attempts to reclaim relevance, to his flirtation with darker ideologies, to his controversial associations, the visionary has been walking a razor's edge. His arrest represents a critical inflection point in his character development. But what if that moment didn't happen in isolation? What if there was a confrontation that triggered everything? Here's where the story becomes compelling from a narrative perspective. Roman Reigns and the Bloodline have maintained ironclad control over WWE's landscape. They've eliminated rivals, consolidated power, and created an ecosystem where their dominance is assumed. But Seth Rollins represents something different. He's a threat that can't be easily quantified because he operates in the margins. He's intelligent, unpredictable, and fundamentally opposed to Reigns' philosophy of tribal supremacy. If Roman and his cousins discovered that Seth had crossed into dangerous territory, discovered that he was building something that challenged their authority, would they confront him? Absolutely. Imagine this scenario. Seth is on his way to an event. His mind is consumed with whatever he's planning, whatever shadow operation he's orchestrating, and then he encounters them. Not in a ring with thousands watching, not in a controlled environment, but in a corridor, backstage, in a moment where only the participants know what's happening. Roman Reigns stands before him with the weight of the Bloodline beside him. This isn't a challenge. This is a warning. This is power asserting itself against a threat it's beginning to recognize. What would be said in that conversation? Roman, with the calculated menace he's perfected, would lay out a simple message. Seth's actions have consequences. His associations have been noted. His defiance has been recorded. And if he continues down this path, if he continues to threaten the stability that the tribal chief has created, there will be repercussions that extend far beyond a simple wrestling match. This isn't about professional wrestling. This is about acknowledging who holds the real power. Seth's response matters tremendously from a character standpoint. Is he frightened? Does he back down? Or does he double down, revealing that he's prepared for this confrontation, that he's already anticipated Reigns' move? Perhaps he mentions his allies. Perhaps he suggests that Roman's control isn't as absolute as the tribal chief believes. Perhaps he does something provocative enough to cross the line from warnings into something more tangible. Here's where the storytelling becomes essential to understanding Seth's arrest. What if, in the heat of this confrontation, something physical transpired? What if Seth, feeling the pressure from the most powerful faction in WWE, reacted in a way that crossed legal boundaries? What if his desperation, his refusal to submit, led to an action that authorities would classify as assault or worse? The arrest wouldn't be random. It would be the culmination of a direct confrontation with Roman Reigns, a moment where the tribal chief's power extended beyond kayfabe and into real-world consequences. This scenario also explains another crucial narrative element. It justifies why the Bloodline would have a vested interest in Seth's detention. They initiated the confrontation. They issued the warning. And when Seth responded with defiance rather than submission, they had no choice but to escalate. From their perspective, they're protecting their empire. From Seth's perspective, he's fighting against oppression. The psychological layers deepen when we consider what this means for Seth's inevitable return. When he emerges from this crisis, he's no longer a desperate freelancer searching for relevance. He's a martyr who stood against overwhelming power and paid the price. He's a protagonist who challenged the machine and was silenced for it. The entire narrative reframes. His followers, his supporters, his potential faction becomes not a collection of outcasts but a genuine resistance movement against Bloodline tyranny. This is how WWE creates heroes. Not through victory, but through sacrifice. Roman Reigns, meanwhile, becomes something more layered and dangerous. He's no longer just a dominant force in the wrestling world. He's someone willing to use his influence to eliminate threats in any way necessary. He's not bound by the rules of professional wrestling. He's a genuine antagonist whose power extends into territories that make him absolutely terrifying. The Bloodline transforms from a dominant stable into an actual crime family with real-world consequences and real-world methods. The Usos' role in this scenario is equally fascinating. These men have been loyal to Roman, protective of his interests, willing to enforce his will. But witnessing or participating in a confrontation that leads to arrest puts them in morally complex territory. Are they complicit? Are they following orders? Or are they as much pawns in Reigns' strategic game as Seth is? This creates potential fractures within the bloodline that could define future storytelling. What makes this scenario work from a pure storytelling perspective is that it explains everything simultaneously. It justifies Seth's arrest. It deepens Reigns' characterization. It explains the Usos' dynamics. It creates urgency for Seth's return. And it sets up a confrontation that transcends professional wrestling and becomes genuinely consequential. The implications for WrestleMania are staggering. Seth's return wouldn't be a celebration. It would be a declaration. A moment where he stands before the WWE Universe and reveals exactly what happened minutes before his arrest. He could name names. He could provide details. He could expose the power structure that the bloodline has been operating outside of, the assumption that they are untouchable. And in doing so, he transforms his detention from a personal tragedy into a catalyst for the biggest conflict WWE could possibly create. This is the storytelling that wrestling at its absolute best provides. Its layers of psychology, character motivation, narrative causation, and real consequences merged with the spectacle and athleticism that draws audiences. Whether this confrontation actually happened or not becomes almost secondary to the dramatic potential it represents and the emotional truth it carries. The beauty of professional wrestling as a narrative medium is that it can explore themes of power, resistance, justice, and redemption in ways that feel simultaneously impossible and absolutely necessary. Seth Rollins standing against Roman Reigns isn't just a match. It's a statement about who controls reality, who determines consequences, and what happens when someone refuses to accept dominance as inevitable. What do you think happened in that corridor? Did the confrontation actually take place? And more importantly, when Seth returns, will he seek retribution against Roman and the bloodline, or has he evolved into something even more dangerous? These are the questions that keep this story alive, that make us invested in the outcomes, that remind us why WWE Express exists to explore these narratives with the depth they deserve. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the psychology of Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and the potential storyline that could reshape WWE's landscape, please hit the like button and subscribe to WWE Express. We're committed to bringing you the most engaging analysis of WWE storytelling, character development, and wrestling psychology on YouTube. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think happened between these titans? And what should happen when Seth returns? Thanks for watching WWE Express, and we'll see you in the next video.